The message arrived while I was folding laundry on a quiet Sunday afternoon. My husband's phone lit up on the dresser. Just a quick buzz and a name I didn't recognize. "Can't wait to see you tonight." Curious, I asked him casually, "Hey, who's Ava?" He didn't even blink, just stared at me coldly and said, "You were never supposed to see that. Stay out of my business." An hour later, I was blocked. Everywhere. So I sent it all to his mom. Screenshots, receipts, the whole truth. He unblocked me almost immediately, but by then it was already too late. My name is Tessa. I'm 34, and up until a few months ago, I thought I had a stable, ordinary marriage. Nothing glamorous. We weren't rich, and we didn't vacation in the Maldives. But we had our routines. I worked as a freelance graphic designer from home, and my husband, Nate, had a steady IT job downtown. We had Taco Tuesdays, Friday movie nights, and shared a dog named Pickles, who we both spoiled like a child. I wasn't looking for drama. I didn't snoop or stalk or second-guess his every move. I believed in giving space, in trusting the person you promised your life to. But looking back, I see how naive that was. People like Nate, they thrive in silence. They count on your loyalty to cover their lies. And I was loyal. Painfully loyal. Until the day that message arrived. That's when I realized the man I married might not even exist. The first crack in the glass was Ava's name. One tiny, glittering shard of truth that, once disturbed, began to splinter through everything I thought I knew. After Nate told me to stay out of his business, I remember standing in the laundry room, clutching a warm towel to my chest like it could hold me together. My heart pounded, not with rage, yet, but with confusion, fear. I didn't confront him again that night. Instead, I watched, I observed, and what I saw broke me. He started guarding his phone like it was a nuclear code. He'd take it into the bathroom, the garage, even to the mailbox. He started working late more often, coming home with that same plastic smile and, "Sorry, babe, crazy day." I noticed he was wearing cologne again, something he hadn't done since our 3rd anniversary. That weekend, I tested something. I asked if he wanted to go out to dinner, our favorite Thai spot, a place we used to love. He hesitated. Then he said, "Actually, the guys and I were planning to catch the game." It was a test, and he failed. I already knew from his calendar app that there was no game that night. So I waited until he left, then went back to his computer. He'd logged out of everything, but I wasn't new to this. I knew his go-to passwords. He wasn't exactly original. Pickles123, our dog's name. What I found was a second email account, hidden in plain sight. It was linked to dating profiles, a burner Instagram, and, yes, dozens of messages from Ava. She thought he was single. He called me his crazy ex who won't move out. He told her we were done, just in the same house until the lease ended. He even had pictures of them at a rooftop bar, their hands wrapped around the same cocktail. I scrolled and scrolled. Hotel bookings, Cash App transactions, Uber rides. He'd built an entire alternate life while sitting across from me at dinner. And the worst part? He was good at it. He made her feel like the main character. Told her she was different. That he'd never met anyone who understood him like she did. Every word he'd said to me when we first fell in love. Copied and pasted. I sat there in the dark with the glow of the screen on my face, and I felt 2 things. 1, the sharp sting of betrayal, and 2, a cold, quiet fire inside me. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. Not yet. I was going to document. I started screenshotting everything. Emails, messages, hotel confirmations, her Instagram photos with his comments underneath. Can't wait to hold you again. Then I went to my bedroom mirror, stared at myself, and whispered, he doesn't know who he married. Because I wasn't going to let this end with me as the broken one. Over the next week, I became an actress. I smiled when he came home. I asked about his day. I laughed at his tired jokes. He had no idea that every word he spoke to me was being mentally filed away and time-stamped. He thought he'd erased me with a block button, but he'd only activated a version of me that he'd never met. The version that didn't beg, didn't yell, didn't fall apart. I started with my finances. We had a joint checking account, but I also had a personal savings account from before we got married. I transferred most of my freelance payments to that one and quietly opened a new checking account in my name only. Then I contacted a lawyer. Her name was Andrea, and from the second I sat down in her office, she didn't coddle me. She strategized. He's hiding money? We'll find it. He's cheating? Let him. Keep collecting. It was exactly what I needed. Andrea walked me through everything. I started gathering tax documents, bank statements, mortgage info, every thread that tied us together. I made copies and stored them on a flash drive hidden inside an empty tampon box in my purse. Nate never touched that box. Meanwhile, I started logging his absences. Times he said he was working late that didn't match his calendar. Days. He used cash instead of his debit card. I even installed a discreet GPS tracker on his car, a legal one advised by Andrea, so I could prove residency and catch him in lies. It was exhausting, pretending, waiting. But I was fueled by a quiet rage, not just because he cheated, but because he discarded me like I was disposable. Then came the tech prep. I backed up all the screenshots to multiple cloud accounts, labeled folders, financial, infidelity, alternate life. I even printed a few copies and mailed them to my sister's address in case he tried to destroy evidence. Through it all, I kept one thing in mind. His mother. She loved me. Not in that fake, passive-aggressive in-law way. She genuinely loved me. We'd go to lunch. She called me her second daughter. She once told me, during a wine-filled Thanksgiving, if Nate ever messes this up, I'm keeping you. I knew exactly what I was going to do with those screenshots. But I waited. Because timing is everything. And Nate thought he was still winning. He had no idea that every lie he told was just ammunition I was saving. For when it mattered most. If you've ever kept quiet just long enough to strike back smarter, hit that subscribe button. Because this revenge story is just heating up. The moment came 3 days after I'd finished compiling everything. Nate was in the shower and his phone buzzed again. Same name. Ava. Only this time the message said, "Still thinking about Saturday. I wish you didn't have to sneak away so fast." I didn't say a word. I didn't even breathe loud enough for him to hear. I just picked up the phone, opened the thread, and forwarded the entire conversation to my email. Photos included. Then I went back to our bedroom, slipped into bed, and waited for him to walk out like nothing had happened. That night, I made my first real move. I quietly removed him as an authorized user from my credit cards. I logged into our joint bank account and scheduled a transfer. My portion, nothing extra. My lawyer had already coached me. No drama, no theft, just precision. Then, I logged into our phone plan. I was the primary account holder. I paused his data for 24 hours, just long enough to see him squirm. And when he tried to call Ava the next day and realized he couldn't, the look on his face was priceless, but I still didn't let on. Instead, I casually mentioned, "Maybe you should take your phone to the store, it's acting weird." He nodded, annoyed, and left to run errands. That was my cue. I opened my secret email folder, selected the entire package, Screenshots, logs, even a short summary I wrote out like a case file, and sent it all to one recipient, his mom. Subject. Line. Thought you should know what your son's been up to. I stared at the sent notification like it was a trophy. 10 minutes later, no joke, 10 minutes. Nate stormed back into the house, slamming the front door so hard it rattled the frame. He was yelling, demanding to know why his mom had called him crying. Why she'd said, "I can't believe you'd do this to Tessa." I stood there, completely calm, looked him right in the eyes and said, "Oh, I thought you blocked me." So I figured she could pass along the message. Turned red, then white, then red again, and in that moment, I saw him clearly, not as my husband, but as a liar who'd finally lost control of the narrative. The king had fallen, and I wasn't done yet. Nate didn't sleep at the house that night. After the showdown with his mom, he grabbed a duffel bag and stormed out, muttering something about how I ruined everything and how I made it public. As if I was the one who had taken his vows and dragged them through motel sheets. The next morning, I met Andrea at her office to finalize the divorce filing. We'd waited long enough to have a clear trail of evidence. His second email account, the dating profiles, the receipts, and now a witness. His mother. She agreed to provide a written statement. She was that furious. Apparently, Nate had called her sobbing, trying to explain it away, saying, "It was just emotional," or "Tessa's cold, she hasn't touched me in months." But she didn't buy it. You don't betray someone like that and expect sympathy, she told him. And then she told me, he'll learn, even if it takes losing everything. Andrea filed the papers that afternoon and attached all the documentation. Infidelity, emotional distress, financial concealment, there was no angle left uncovered. Then came the meeting. We had a scheduled mediation session before things escalated to court. Nate showed up disheveled, with some discount lawyer he probably found online. I arrived in a black blazer, calm, collected, and holding a binder thicker than a high school yearbook. The mediator introduced us both. Nate tried to be smug at first, offering that fake, condescending smile I used to fall for. But the second Andrea slid the binder across the table and opened it to the printed screenshots, the color drained from his face. Exhibit A, Communication. With an individual known as Ava, occurring over a period of 7 months. Explicit in nature. Misrepresentation of marital status. His lawyer tried to object, claimed it was invasive and circumstantial. But Andrea shut that down fast. Your client admitted in writing that his wife was a crazy ex who won't move out. I think we're well past circumstantial. It got worse. Andrea revealed the financial forensics we'd conducted. Cash withdrawals just under the limit for triggering alerts. Frequent ATM stops near the same hotel. I could see Nate squirming, his hands fidgeting, his mouth dry. Then, I handed over the final blow. A statement from his mother. It read, in her own handwriting, I can no longer support or condone the actions of my son. Tessa has been nothing but honest, loyal, and loving. Nate betrayed her trust, his vows, and this family. When Nate saw that, he broke. He didn't yell. He didn't throw a tantrum. He just slumped back in his chair, completely deflated. The game was over, and he knew it. We settled that day. I got the house, the dog, and my freedom. He walked away, with his car, his shattered pride, and a stack of monthly payments he'd now owe in spousal support. Because, oh yes, Andrea made sure of that too. And the best part? Everything remained on public record. Every file, every exhibit. So if Ava ever decided to Google his name again, she'd get the full story. If you're loving this justice as much as I loved serving it, smash that subscribe button. Nate thought the worst was behind him after the mediation. He was wrong. It didn't take long for his carefully constructed double life to crumble. Ava, it turns out, wasn't just a fling. She had feelings. And when she found out he'd lied about everything, she didn't just walk away. She detonated. She sent a group message to everyone she knew, including his coworkers, forwarding the screenshots I had originally sent to his mother. She added her own commentary, too. This man told me he was divorced. He told me his wife was crazy, and all the while he was lying to both of us. The fallout was brutal. Nate's boss caught wind of the scandal, not because infidelity is a fireable offense, but because Nate had used company time and resources to meet up with Ava. Multiple days unaccounted for. Company card used for business dinners that turned out to be dates. He was asked to resign within the week. His friends, the ones I used to host game nights for, they stopped calling. One even messaged me privately to say, "I don't know how you put up with him for so long. We had no idea." And his mother? She didn't just stop speaking to him. She told him in a voicemail I happened to overhear, "I'm disappointed in who you've become. I raised you better." He tried to reach out to me once more, a long, pitiful email apologizing, asking if we could talk. I didn't respond, because the Nate I knew didn't exist anymore, and the version of me that did, she was too busy building a better life. In the months that followed, I did something I hadn't done in years. I lived for me. With Nate gone, the house became a sanctuary instead of a battlefield. I repainted the walls, donated everything that reminded me of him, and turned his old office into a cozy studio space for my design work. Pickles and I took long walks, slept in on Sundays, and for the first time in years, the silence felt safe. My freelance work skyrocketed. It's funny how creativity flourishes when you're no longer under constant emotional tension. I landed 2 new clients and finally raised my rates, something Nate had always discouraged. "Don't get too ambitious," he'd once told me. Now, I aim high on purpose. I started documenting my journey online. Not the messy details, but the rise. The quiet reclaiming. Women started messaging me. "Your story gave me courage. Thank you for showing that we can survive betrayal and still thrive." I even began collaborating with a lawyer, yes, Andrea, to create digital resources for women needing legal and financial advice during divorce. It's turning into something powerful, something that might just help others avoid the pit I had to climb out of. And the best part? I'm not afraid anymore. Not of being alone, not of being too much, not of asking questions. Because the moment I stopped protecting a man who betrayed me was the moment I finally started protecting myself. Sometimes I catch myself staring at the ceiling at night, remembering the moment I asked, "Who's Ava?" and heard Nate say, "You were never supposed to see that." He meant it as a warning. A way to shut me down. But that moment didn't end me. It woke me up. I used to think strength looked like forgiveness, like enduring, like shrinking myself to keep the peace. Now, I know strength is quiet preparation. It's standing tall with the truth in one hand and your dignity in the other. It's choosing not to fight in chaos, but to rise above it with clarity and purpose. I didn't just survive Nate's betrayal. I dismantled the lies he built and walked away with everything he tried to take from me. My peace, my voice, my future. He wanted to erase me with a block. Instead, I made sure everyone saw who he really was. And me? I'm still standing. Stronger. Smarter. And completely unbothered, because at the end of the day, success is the best revenge.